Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of our travel podcast, Where to Next. Now today, I've decided to choose a topic that Sunila recently wrote about in the Navbharat Times. Every Sunday, we write in different newspapers, different national dailies. Sunila writes in the Navbharat Times and her topic for that article was the Ramayana Trail. Now, Sunila, instead of me giving an introduction, why don't you first tell me and give all of us an introduction of why you decided to write about the Ramayana Trail.
Neil, I think the Ramayana is a timeless story. And all of India, if you see, it's intertwined into the Ramayana.
Yeah.
And everywhere you go in India, you'll find a reference to the Ramayana. So I feel it's not just a story anymore, but there is so much you can do because you do end up visiting the places. For example, like when I went to Hampi and I said, oh wow, yes, this is also the place of Ramayana. And then you go way up north and you say, oh wow, this is also Ramayana. And then you go to the south and then you see it is everywhere. And I thought it's a beautiful way to build it all together, and not just India but our neighboring countries too. So I think it was a great way. And I traveled the whole story when I wrote that article, and I thought it was really amazing. So let's.
So you mentioned neighboring countries too. I know Sri Lanka is associated with the Ramayana Trail, but which other countries?
Nepal. So Nepal was where was the home of Sita, and that's where the story starts in a way.
Oh, really? Okay, so then let's start the story. Let's start the episode discussing this. And from all of the research that I did when I was preparing for this episode, I thought the story started in Ayodhya.
Yes.
But should we start in Nepal then?
We could start in Nepal. I think the story could start with the birth of Ram and Sita. And of course, we know Ayodhya is the birthplace of Lord Rama, and we'll come to that later. But Sita's birthplace is not too far from the Nepal border in India, near Bihar. And if you actually see Sita Mari, where they say was the birthplace of Sita, it's not so far from the Nepal border. And then her father, Janak, is of course, Janakpura in Nepal is said to be where you find his palace even today. So there is like a Janki temple out there for Sita. There is a palace out there which was said to be his palace. There is a Vivaha Mandapam where they actually are supposed to have the Swayamvar and we're supposed to get married, and Dhanush Dham. So where the bow was lifted, and then of course the Swayamvar took place. So I think it's really interesting that our neighboring country also holds a lot of importance for Ramayana, because that is where she was from, and then she came to India. Of course, at that point, it was all considered, everything was India right then, right? So what is even interesting today, Neil, is that they even celebrate all these festivities even today in Nepal. And you can make it a part of your India itinerary or Nepal itinerary. See, my interest, of course, is the story, but it's also that when we are on holiday, how do we add it to our itineraries and our programs?
No, because if you think about it, I was looking at all of these places in isolation, all of the places that we'll discuss throughout the episode, right? And I was like, more often than not, you will make a visit to this place. But if you were to zoom out and look at the map of India in a way, you could make this a trail where your holiday could actually be that. And not only for people living in India, people outside of India often come to do the Golden Triangle. People often come to go to Kerala, go for wellness and all of that. But this Ramayana Trail actually could become a theme. And when I happened to read the article, I was like, oh wow, this is something that no one has spoken about. I don't think I've seen many videos or articles written on it. So I was particularly excited when it comes to that. So, okay, that's the Nepal connection.
So Neil, just to continue with the Nepal collection, there are two ways to do it. One is to go to Darbhanga, which is in India. There's a domestic flight to Darbhanga, and then it's hardly a few hours away, 2-3 hours away, you can go there. Or you can fly from Kathmandu, where a very small flight, 20-30 minutes flight, and you can land up in Janakpur, and there is actually an airport out there. Or you can drive from Kathmandu too, and then make it a part of your Nepal itinerary the next time you go to Nepal. So that's the beauty of the trail, that one, yes, you could tour the entire trail all through Nepal, India and Sri Lanka. or you can break it into parts and do it whenever you want. You can do that as well. And what I heard from our Nepal partner is that even today during Ram Navami, which falls around March or April, they actually do the whole festivities where the wedding of Ram and Sita is recreated at this temple in Nepal. So it's something quite beautiful to watch as well.
That's super interesting. And you mentioned flying into Nepal, right? Like, one thing I would like to add, just going on a tangent, is that when you're flying into Nepal, you are kind of going over the mountains in many ways. And if you get the opportunity, I would definitely recommend anyone listening do that, because the views that you get from that plane are incredible. Okay, so now that's the Nepal connection. Should we come to Ayodhya?
Yes, I think so.
So now that we have the Ram temple over there, I guess the Ramayana Trail as such connects properly, where you could start in Ayodhya and go all the way to Lanka or Sri Lanka, right? So what would you have to say about Ayodhya?
Actually, I wanted to visit Ayodhya and I had made all my plans because I wanted to go there for Diwali. It's in the Guinness Book of World Records for the number of lamps that were lit in Ayodhya. And I really wanted to see that spectacle. And everybody in office stopped me from going, especially the product team. They got super excited. They said, no, 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 don't go now. Wait till the Ram Janmabhoomi temple is built and then go so that you can, enjoy it better. So that one trip is still pending, but I'm sure I'll get there. Ayodhya is special for a lot of reasons, of course. And now I think going there to witness the Ram Janmabhoomi temple is so special because what I like best about the temple, of course, it's stunning. It's 380 feet long. It is 250 feet wide and all of that. It has some more than 44 doors which are made. It's beautiful. It's got the Nagar style of architecture, which is the North Indian style of architecture, where they have these big towers and all of that. But what I find most endearing about the whole thing is that the statue is of Lord Rama as a child. It's a black colored statue, so you are actually, worshipping the form as a baby, which is the age of innocence. So I found that particularly nice. That I think it's amazing that after all, I think that's the right choice. And also one fact there is that it brings everything together. So it's not just a temple. There are research rooms, different places for pilgrims, meditation areas, so many other things that are built. One good point I found when I was researching for our episode is that apparently the architects and they got together with scientists and everything, and they have designed it in such a way, they've placed the mirrors in such a way that on Ram Navami, the sun rays will fall straight on the idol, symbolizing the Surya Tilak. Like with the sun rays falling on the idol.
And that's awesome.
So
I
that's
think,
like stunning that they've thought of all this. So I think the temple, of course, is one thing that you should visit. But I love the rivers, especially the rivers of India everywhere. And the Saryu Ghat is said to be from where they left for their exile. So the Aarti at Saryu Ghat is very, very special. And that's definitely something that everyone should witness when they go to Ayodhya. So I think it'll be a beautiful journey.
if someone is going to Ayodhya, how many days do you think they should spend there?
I think at least 2 to 3 days because you want to soak in the atmosphere as well. And there are so many other things to do in and around the temple complex. So definitely 2 or 3 days would be a good time. And then you can combine it with different places, with Lucknow, with Varanasi and others, and make a whole trip out of it for a good 7 days to 10 days as well.
Okay, so Sunila, Ayodhya is probably the first stop. We discussed Nepal, but if you are really doing the Ramayana Trail, Ayodhya could become the first stop. From Ayodhya, where?
Sunil, just a little ahead is actually Chitrakoot, where they spent all their time in exile. And then, of course, there are many other stories. This is mythology at the end of it. So the stories could be, there can be many different versions of the stories, but I think most people agree that Chitrakoot probably is the place where they spent a lot of their time in exile. And here is where Rama's brother Bharat came to meet him and requested him to come back. So they have a Ram Bharat Milap temple that you can actually see here, which is quite interesting. There's also a Gupta Godavari cave. And if you actually Google and you see the photo, it's quite stunning the way the caves are made, and you wonder, like, is it really a story? Did it really happen? What is all of this? And that is also supposed to be where they hid there for some time when they were in exile. So Chitrakoot kind of brings in this whole image of the forest that they lived in, the hut that they built, where they lived, and it moves towards the national parks of India as well. So it's close to Prayagraj. You can visit it from Prayagraj. You can fly into Prayagraj and go there to Chitrakoot and kind of get a glimpse into how the story unfolds when they were in exile.
Chitrakoot is on the banks of the Mandakini river,
That's
right?
It's on the banks of the Mandakini River.
So when you're going from Prayagraj, on the way or once you get to Chitrakoot, there'll be many kind of, heritage or legacy kind of stays that you can definitely enjoy, right? Like, because when I was finding out more information, there are many homestays there. There are many places where you can stay and you're kind of living history, like, as you're staying. So that's also one cool thing that I came
I like
across.
the way you say that, because that is true. If you want the bigger hotels, of course, you have to stay in the bigger cities, do it as a day trip. But if you want to really soak into the experience, these kind of homestays are the best thing to
Okay.
take.
So after Chitrakoot, where?
We come to our state, Maharashtra, and Panchavati in Nashik is where, the whole drama starts unfolding, or like the drama in the story begins, we can say, because this is where the abduction of Sita takes place.
Yeah.
And you have the Sita Gumfa here, where which is kind of to commemorate all of this. And then you have the Kala Ram temple in Nashik, which is again, it's called like that because literally Kala means black. So they have the idol in black stone. And that is again something that definitely you can see it there. Nashik, as you know, today is an important part of Maharashtra and is the base for a lot of tourism in Maharashtra too.
Yeah. So one question kind of popped in my head, because we've discussed Ayodhya, we've discussed Chitrakoot, and we've discussed Nashik. Is this a trail that you should probably do by car all throughout, or you should mix it up? What do you think?
I think, again, time dependent. If you have the time in the world, it would be super interesting to do it by car.
Yeah.
It's road trips in India can be really exciting because you discover so many places that you didn't think you knew, or you knew less about. So
Yeah.
it would be very, very interesting to do it by car, but you would need a good month or more to actually go through everything. Even if you decide to stop just 2-3 places at one destination, you need at least a month to cover everything, but if you don't have that time, you want to do it in 10-15 days, then hopping flights would be a good idea to kind of do it.
Maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago, this would have seemed impossible. But suddenly, we have one of our tour managers, Veer Dhawal, who decided to cycle from Maharashtra to Ladakh. And, that is only possible because roads have developed, the infrastructure is much better. So, I guess if you want to really do it, people are doing Kashmir to Kanyakumari now. We also had a tour that did the entire thing, which was about 45 days. So I think it is possible, but like you said, you would need a lot of time on your hands.
In fact, on our other podcast around the world, I was speaking to our guest Rohan Mapuskar, who's the casting director for a lot of these famous films, and he said he just loves to take the car and just go wherever, and he actually ends up driving sometimes from Mumbai to Kerala. So I was like, what? So long? He says, I don't decide where to go. I just take the car with my friends and I start driving. So driving and road trips in India is something that is really becoming popular.
But not your cup of tea or my cup of tea, I guess, right? Like, I don't think I have done a proper road trip in India.
I wish I had the time to do it.
Yeah.
I would love to do it. Like, I haven't even driven to Goa. Well, I've driven in Tasmania, I've driven in other countries, but somehow have never been able to take the time in India to do that. So one day when we find the time, maybe we can do that road trip in India.
Every episode we do on India, in the past we've done episodes, in the future we'll probably do episodes. Every episode, if you're discussing a particular theme, there is a way of kind of driving through, right? If if you're doing an episode on the coastline of India, you could probably drive the entire coastline if you really wanted to, and that would be a very scenic journey. But again, let's come back to the episode. So Panchavati was the third stop on our journey. Now the fourth one, according to my list over here, is a place you've been to what, 2 times, 3 times? 3 times. And that's,
I can go back there
and that's
again.
Hampi, right?
That's Hampi.
So let's do a little bit of a deep dive into Hampi, because Hampi is now a trending destination, as I can see. Why am I calling it a trending destination? We are getting more people coming into our offices and saying that I want to check out Hampi. We are seeing more reels on Instagram and Facebook or YouTube shorts where people are giving you more information about Hampi. Now, I know the 3 trips that you have done to Hampi. One has been with family, one has been, I think, with friends or something like that. And you've
one
done
was for work.
and you've done a luxury trip and a normal trip also. So tell us about Hampi.
Neil, I think everyone who goes to Hampi, I'm sure when they reach there will say, why did I come here so late? Or why have I not seen this before? Because like I said, of course you have mythology on one side, you have the stories on one side, you have the monuments, architecture, everything, but the landscape, there is nothing like Hampi. The landscape just blows you off. And when you're standing there, like the first trip, in fact, I did see the change, right? Because I went there about 15 years back, I think probably was my first trip to Hampi. Very little was known, and we were doing this recce trip all through Karnataka, because Karnataka itself was not so much on the tourist map back then. So we were trying to see what new things can we do in India. And the only people I saw in Hampi were foreigners, like just people, touring with backpackers and things. And I said, what do they know about Hampi that we don't know? Like, why are only foreigners touring this place? Well, when I went a few years back, just after the pandemic, and I was so happy to see that there were so many more Indians out there, we are discovering our own country. Hampi, the seat of the Vijayanagara kingdom, palaces, monuments, you have the royal route, and we've discussed Hampi in detail, but you have different routes. You have the royal route, you have the temple route, you have temples for Krishna, Rama, everybody out here. The Virupaksha temple, it's stunning. It's just beautifully done. Even other than the temples, just walking in Hampi is a pleasure. So they've cleaned up the whole place, and it's so nice now to go to Hampi. Like you mentioned, there is a choice of accommodation from something very basic and economic to complete luxury, where Evolve Back is built like a palace. So when I went there, when I did my luxury tour to Hampi, I actually had a pool villa in Hampi. And I said, I have to pinch myself. Like, is this true? Because this huge, nice pool in the room. And you remember I video called you and I told you, look at this room. It's crazy. Like, how can this just go on and on? It was so beautiful. It was a wonderful stay. I could have not left the hotel and just enjoyed Hampi too. It was that stunning. The other, one of my favorite places, there is a small resort called Boulders, which is just a few rooms, but it's right by the river. So you're actually on the boulders. And I think why I'm mentioning boulders is, if I had to talk of Hampi in one word, it would be boulders. Because all of Hampi is like different sizes and kinds of boulders placed on top of each other. And you're just looking at it and thinking, why are they not falling? How is everything just holding up? So for me, Hampi really is beautiful. It's great for a sunrise trek. It's great for a sunset viewing point. Coming to Ramayana, of course, there are so many stories out there. I think the most important is it's considered to be the birthplace of Hanumana. The Anjanadri hill is where it is said, and there's a temple there. And yes, of course, religious purposes, but even just climbing up is a nice trek, and it feels great to go on top of the hill and see the view from there and think that maybe this is true. Maybe Hanumana was born here. What I also discovered on my third trip to Hampi, because the first 2 times I didn't have enough time to go to all the monuments, but it was so stunning, was this temple called the Hazar Rama temple. Now the Hazar Rama temple, there are, it depicts in stone the entire story of the Ramayana. From Rama's birth to coronation, there are different, panels made, carved on the temple. And it really made me feel temples are nothing but storybooks. Like you are just seeing the story come alive out there. So it was really quite stunning to see that. So in terms of monuments, all of that is there. And then Shabri, who features in Ramayana, is supposed to also have met King Rama here and fed him. Like before she gave him, she would eat everything, the fruits, and then give it to him. So that is also important out here. And the last time when I went with family and we were there and Veena, Sudhimi and Sara, we were walking by the river. It was so beautiful. And as we were walking, suddenly there was this horde of monkeys who just came in. And it's like they were on a mission. They were like so many, we had to stop to let them pass. And we said, wow, this is bringing the Ramayana to life here. So Hampi is again the seat where the Vanar Sena and, King Rama and Lakshmana and Sita met them. They made the alliance, the battle was fought, Sugriva and Vali and all of those stories.
So I would say closest accessible airport where you can fly into.
Hubli.
Okay.
Hubli would be the place to get into. And if you go by train, then Hospet. You can go from Bangalore. I drove from Bangalore. The road was very nice. So it's a little longer, but...
What is little longer?
Well, it took about 2-3 hours more than going from Hubli.
Okay.
So Hubli probably you'll reach in 2 hours or so, and from Bangalore I think the road is even better now. When I went, it took me more than 6 hours, but probably in 4-5 hours you should be able to go from Bangalore as well.
But then, when you say Bangalore, do we have to go through the city of Bangalore, or it is like out and out?
No, it is out and out, but you have to time your flights correctly.
Why is that?
Right? Because the traffic in Bangalore, once the traffic starts, then it's crazy. But once you get out from the Bangalore city limits, the famous traffic of Bangalore, then you're fine.
Then it's totally fine.
Another route, of course, is to come in from Goa and get into Hampi as well.
That would be longer, right?
It's longer, but you can do a lot of things on the way. And for youth who want a little adventure-based holiday, I think Goa, Dandeli, Yana Rocks, and then coming into Hampi makes a lot of sense.
That would be a longer trip.
But you're doing things on the way. So you're not just coming to Hampi and going back. And also in Hampi, of course, we mentioned the boulders. So trekking, hiking, bouldering, all of these activities can be done along with, the temple complex, the palace complex, and the monuments.
Awesome. So I guess that's Hampi. Now, the next place on our list is a place called Jatayu's Earth Center. Now, when I think of Jatayu's Earth Center, I remember during the pandemic, every single day I would take a new city or new place in India and I would research about it. And identifying this place was through just Googling, hidden treasures in India, hidden places in India. And suddenly one day on Google Images, I came across this place where there was this bird. And I think my notes here tell me that it was 200 feet long, 150 feet wide, and 70 feet high. And there was this drone video that someone who had traveled to India a couple years ago, before that, had taken, where the person was standing on this bird sculpture and then the drone was just going far away and it was a zoomed out view. And suddenly I realized that this is an insane place where this sculpture of this bird is amazing. And then I started researching and then I found out that there is this place called Jatayu's Earth Center. And then I think we included that in all our travel itineraries also. But how relevant is Jatayu's Earth Center when you think of the Ramayana?
Very relevant because, the story that we said when she was abducted from Nashik and Ravana was taking her to Sri Lanka. Jatayu, the valiant bird, actually fought with Ravana and tried to save Sita. And he fell down. Now, I think if you go by the real story, then this is not exactly the place where Jatayu is supposed to have fallen. It's more towards what we mentioned in one of our other podcasts, the Lipakshi temple. He's supposed to have fallen down there. But I feel for all reasons that we must mention Jatayu Earth Center is because you can actually see the bird, right? So it's a monument to the bird, and that is why it is so important. And yeah, it's so beautiful. Like, it's such a stunning sculpture. I think
there's cable cars, there's trekking trails that you can definitely do. And it's one of those photo stops on a tour where everyone wants to take a photo of it with the bird. And when we are showcasing this episode, we'll add in 2 or 3 photos from different angles, because the sheer structure of the bird is what amazes me. Again, haven't been there. You've mentioned all of these places. I still haven't been to any.
Even I haven't been there, but I think this is one of the places, Neil, just looking at the photo makes you want to go. You look at it and you feel, I want to go there and I want to see this. And what I'm liking about all these places that are coming into India, they are not just places to see. Like, it's not just, okay, I saw. Like you mentioned, there's so much to do out there. And it's nice that we are adding a little bit of adventure to all these places of importance or monuments as well. So it doesn't just end up being a holiday where I went and I saw and I moved out. I can actually sit there and do things.
And you're kind of reliving history, right? So
Yeah.
that adds that added element of experience to the entire holiday. Okay, so that's Jatayu's Earth Center. Now we are kind of reaching the end of this trail within India. So the last stop on this trail, according to your article, is Rameshwaram, right? Give us some significance of it.
So Rameshwaram, it ends the Ramayana story in India, like you said, and the name itself says a lot. So the Rameshwaram means Ishwaram is God, so Rama's God, or where Rama prayed to the God. And the legend says that after killing Ravana and coming, as an atonement for his sins, he prayed to Lord Shiva at Rameshwaram, and that is why the place got its name. That this is Rama's God, Rama's Ishwar Shiva, and he prayed for him there, and that is why you have Rameshwaram out there. Rameshwaram, I think it's very interesting because even in terms of mythology, science, belief, folk tales, everything comes together out here. This is the place where the Ram Setu was said to be built. So they say that at Dhanushkodi is the tip of the bow. There are different stories. One says this is from where Rama, took the bow and arrow and created the whole Ram Setu along with the Vanar Sena. The other stories are like this is where he broke his bow after coming back from killing Ravana. So Dhanushkodi is an important place. It's a ghost town now, but that is where it is. And Ram Setu itself, there are so many stories about it. The proverbial bridge connecting India to Sri Lanka, and satellite images have shown that there are certain limestone formations, also known as the Adams Bridge. So I find it really interesting, So again, that is a place on our bucket list. I think even you haven't been there. I haven't been there. One of the other interesting places here, is the Ramnath Swami Temple. And the Ramnath Swami Temple is said to have, I think, one of the longest corridors of pillars in the whole world, in any temple complex. It's more than 1200 meters or so. So it's like the longest that you can see. The temple has more than 22 wells, which are said to be the hot water wells. And people go there and they pray and they try to dip in each well. There's also a story that it says it symbolizes the 22 arrows in Rama's, which King Rama had. So Rameshwaram becomes this very important place where the whole story kind of comes to an end, and it symbolizes the victory of good over evil. So I think it's quite special.
Awesome. So from Rameshwaram, if we had to bring Sri Lanka into the picture, because we've not discussed anything about Sri Lanka. How is Sri Lanka connected to the Ramayana is my first question, and which are the places in modern day Sri Lanka that are connected to the Ramayana?
Neil, if you go back and read in history, they say that Sri Lanka was one of the richest lands, and Ravana had built this beautiful place. Like, there is a Marathi song also that says that it's even more beautiful than heaven. Like, is supposed to be Ravana's Lanka. And Ravana was a Brahmin. He was very educated, knowledgeable, and all of that. So obviously, probably there was this stunningly beautiful city that he had built. What used to surprise me a lot is that in spite of the whole Ramayana happening in India, if you ever Google a Ramayana trail, you'll come up with itineraries for Sri Lanka and not for India. So Sri Lanka has been marketing Ramayana more than we have.
Yeah, I guess that's a way of them bringing alive their history and then pushing the destination. Because at the end of the day, if you just post pictures, you are not really marketing a destination. You have to kind of create a story around it, right? And everywhere you go, the stories, the curiosity kind of sells a destination. And kudos to Sri Lanka for actually doing that.
So they've managed to build the story around it really well. And again, I've been to Sri Lanka many times. I've probably visited one of these places. So in Nuwara, which is this beautiful tea gardens and everything, but in the Ashok Vatika, you have the place where Sita Amman temple, where said to be held captive. There are a few other places in and around Sri Lanka, and they built a beautiful trail around it. So the other place that is quite nice is Ella, and there are some beautiful waterfalls there. So they are known as Ravana's waterfalls, and it's said that this is where he had built. There are also some underground caves out here, and they say that this was a part of Ravana's palace, or is said to be like that. So, and then there is, of course, where Hanuman came and then set fire to the whole place. So they've built this beautiful narrative around that. And of course, when you go to Sri Lanka, we are probably doing Colombo, Bentota, Negombo, Galle, and Mirisa, and just doing along the coastal routes. But if you take the inland route a little bit, you move into Kandy and you go to Nuwara and then move out, then you can add elements of the Ramayana Trail to your Sri Lanka holiday. So I would say don't just do only the Ramayana Trail, see both sides of Sri Lanka because the coast is equally beautiful.
Again, right? Like
yeah, or go again.
Yeah,
go again.
We've
go a
discussed
second time.
second visits.
Yes.
In a previous episode. So, like, could definitely do that also. Awesome. So, like, for the Sri Lankan leg of a holiday like this, right, or for a trip like this, how many days do you think it could take you? I'm not talking about the southern part of Sri Lanka. Just I'm talking about the Ramayana Trail.
Most Ramayana Trail itineraries are about a week. Of course, you want to in Sri Lanka, you want to take your time to experience more than 10 days. Typically, I feel a good time to keep in mind is 7 to 10 days, so that you can actually go around and explore the place.
Okay, and if we were to get all of these places together, because we've discussed Nepal, we've discussed Ayodhya, we've discussed Chitrakoot, we've discussed Nashik in Maharashtra, we've discussed Hampi, we've discussed Jatayu Earth Center, Rameshwaram, and now Sri Lanka. Together, you would say a month?
I think so.
But would you do it all together?
I wouldn't do it all together simply because I don't have the time. I mean, if I had a month, I would go on a road trip of India and do a lot of things that we mentioned. But I would like to do it part by part. Also because I want to see other places that are around the, like say if I go to Ayodhya, I don't want to do just Ayodhya. I might add one more place to it simply because that's the time I've taken out, and then I have the opportunity to see something else. If I go to Hampi, along with Hampi, maybe I'll go to Badami Caves and experience all of that as well. So I like to see more things and make the best use of the place when I'm there. So rather than doing just one long trail, because I'm short of time, I would rather break it up and discover each place along with something else.
But if someone really wanted to do this, and see during Dasera, it kind of the Ramayana tales start coming back up again, right? Like, everyone seems to be talking about it. So would that be a good time to actually do the trail, or like, because you don't want to be caught in the monsoon somewhere, or you don't want it to be too hot. So what is a good time according to you?
I think the best time that you could look at, of course, Dasera can be a part of it, and post monsoons would be a very good time, because after monsoon, one, you have greenery all around, and the weather, you have the October heat for some time, and then it changes for the better. So the winter in India is really nice. So any time from October, November onwards to March would be a great time to do this trail. And then depending on different occasions. Now, do you want to avoid the crowds or you want to be a part of the celebration is your choice.
That's true.
So if you want to join in the celebrations, there's the Dasara that happens in Mysore, which is quite special. A Dasara that happens even in Kulu is quite special, Dasara celebrations. And it's such a contrast, the mountains, and the way of doing it, celebrating it. And in Dasara with the whole pomp and grandeur of the Mysore palace, and it's lit up. But then, of course, book in advance, make sure you have your reservations, and then go ahead and enjoy the celebrations. If you want to avoid the crowds, go at any time. And then Ram Navami is the other point where you would probably go in. Like I mentioned, Diwali in Ayodhya is quite special. So that is again a time. And I would do that even if for the crowds. Like I'd probably book it way in advance because I want to witness this whole spectacle of the lights. And I feel that would be the real end to a Ramayana trail, because that's when he goes back to Ayodhya in the story, and people are welcoming him with thousands of lamps. Like Deepavali, the festival itself is because you lit all these lamps to welcome him back. And I would love to experience that in Ayodhya.
You know, I was writing an article the other day on 12 places that you could visit 12 months of the year. So January I was giving one place, February I was giving one place, all of this. But now that you've mentioned this, for the second half of the year, I'll probably start including these places out there, because the theme of the article was just India, but I could probably extend it to a Nepal or a Sri Lanka and add those articles. But awesome. I think a fun episode, I would say, a deep dive into the Ramayana Trail. If we would have done individual episodes on Ayodhya, Hampi, or anywhere else, we probably would not have seen a theme that is the Ramayana Trail. And I guess, listeners, we often think that travel is about all of these stories, right? If you just pick a place and go there, you'll probably see it, you'll click photos, and you probably will tick it off. But the moment you attach it to a story, you attach it to a theme like this, that's what celebrating life is all about. So I guess, Sunila, thank you so much. And so that's our episode of Where to Next. Sunila, because you've given us this deep dive of the Ramayana, any closing notes that you would have?
Like we mentioned, I think our viewers would enjoy traveling not just from India, but starting the trail from Nepal, coming down to Ayodhya, cutting through all of India, and then going down to our neighbor Sri Lanka. And I think that kind of brings in the whole Ramayana trail together. Pick your favorite place, go there, visit it, and let us know how you liked it. And then we'll see where we go to next.
Awesome. See you next time. Bye bye.